We're now presenting. Let's wait for some attendees to come.
You're live on Facebook.
We're live on Facebook. And our audience members are coming in. Put my phone on silent. Okay, I think we should start. So, good afternoon, everybody. Today we are presenting our Africa Fashion Week London Masterclass. And we have Samson Soboye, who is presenting our very first one. And on his class is titled, How to Start a Fashion Business. So I hope you're all ready, because Samson's been in the industry for how many years, Samson? Let's introduce yourself. You're 20, very busy putting life on yourself.
20 and counting.
20 and counting. So we're going to learn from the best today. So Samson's going to tell us how he started his brand and what it takes to just be in the business and stay in the business sustainably. So Samson, can I hand over to you for you to introduce yourself?
Indeed. Yes.
Handing over.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our very first masterclass for Africa Fashion Week London. And I'm going to talk about my rise in the fashion industry, tell you how to start a fashion business and what you need to do to make a collection, a little bit of tidbits of information that I've learned over the years of being in fashion. And I hope you enjoy it, and welcome again.
So Samson, do you want me to drive or do you want to share your screen?
I'll share my screen now.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's come back to that. And am I sharing?
Not yet. Have you clicked the green button at the bottom? Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Okay, and then present. So I should be presenting now, is that right? Are we good to go? I can't hear you, Anna Marie.
I said yes, you're presenting now. It looks beautiful. Okay. You carry on.
So guys, here we are talking about fashion, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my journey. So it says here 80% perspiration, 20% inspiration. That's because it looks glamorous behind the scenes, and yes, for the most part it is glamorous, but there's a lot of sweat, tears, and energy that goes into this before we even get to a collection or a catwalk show. So this is the realities of running a small business. 20% inspiration. So here's my timeline, and basically I started my shop in 2002, opened in Shoreditch, which is a rundown part of East London that was famous for shoemaking, furniture making. There's always an artist in this area. My shop was empty for 10 years before I moved in, and I joined up with a partner called Ethan Sung. She then went on to work for Oswald Boateng, and I took over the shop in 2009. And I started my African print collection in 2012 to celebrate the African nations competing in the Olympic Games. So it started as a shirt collection. This is one of the original designs. And I'm wearing one of the original designs from that collection. And it was kind of like a, just a little project. We weren't selling African stuff before then. And then we decided that we were going to do it. It took off so well that we ended up making a collection, full women's and men's collections. Moving on swiftly from that, I participated in Lagos Design Fashion Week with a full men's collection. And then the following year with a full women's collection. I then took part in Africa Fashion Week in Berlin and was signed up to Africa Fashion Week London in 2015. So we're on my 5th year now, working for them and showing both collections. And next slide goes on to, so I'm going to talk to you a bit about my retail experience and the shop, how it's important to have a retail space as well as an online space. These are some of the collections, men's and women's collections that I sell in the boutique. The retail space looks like this, and it's really important. It's a smallish space, but we pack quite a lot in. It's bursting full of color, bursting full of print, and very unique pieces. The window on my right is a collection of knitwear that was designed by students from Winchester School of Art, where I'm also an associate lecturer. So I'll get back to that later, talking about collaborations and how important it is to work with like-minded people or do other projects to extend your reach within the industry. So this was a brief I set for them using my shop and Africa as an inspiration. And the left window is part of my women's collection, and you can barely see in behind the interior of the shop. How am I doing, Anna? You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry, you're doing really well. Carry on.
Okay, so within the shop, we have a very extensive mix of products. And on my right, you see the cushions that I've made with African print fabric. They've since all sold out. I'm about to start a new collection of those. On top of that is beads. So they're beaded on top of the African print fabric. On the left is a part of the Rise and Shine collection that I showed in Gambia, where I've been showing for the last 4 years. I helped them with the Fashion Week in Gambia. And this was shot in Banjul. That collection, again, is since sold. So we offer print as well as jewelry, as well as accessories, as well as shoes. So this is all of the products we sell here. We sell lighting, bespoke lighting, which my colleague Anna Marie has been making some pieces for. And we've got some new pieces in the pipeline as we speak. So that's the product mix that we offer. Here we have the shop, the interior of the shop. And right on time and right on cue, we have now been selling COVID-19 appropriate masks. So have a look at those. We have extensive range of reversible masks that we're selling, keeping on trend. So it's good to have established working practice early in your career. Foster good partnerships and collaborations, which I've done many of over the time I've been in fashion. So I've put here network, network, network. It really is important. No man is an island. We really have to work with people. Work well with your factories, with your suppliers, even your customers. Networking is important to basically form a community of like-minded people and let them know who you are. My first piece of good advice to you would be, if you are thinking of having a shop, there are a lot of designers out there that want to showcase and have product ready for you and would be willing to take product or give you product without you having to buy it. So you will not necessarily invest in the product. It gives you free product that you can test out without having to invest. And it's called sale or return or consignment. So you can gain stock without having to commit or invest in it. As I said before, good visual merchandising is key to keeping the shop thriving. So I change my shop here once a week. We have new windows, moving the merchandise around. We try and get new stock in every month. Just keeps the shop looking fresh, keeps customers interested, and keeps your stock moving. It also adds to the shopping experience. If you're going to have a shop, you need to have a reason why people want to come to your shop. There are hundreds of shops, thousands of shops out on the high street now. What makes your shop different? What makes people want to come to you? So you have to really work on this and offer a product that people want to buy. Offer something that's unique, different, not something that everybody else has already got. Talking from my experience. If you're not going to have a shop, then you do need to have a online presence. And you might want to start this way first before going into bricks and mortar. So you can maybe do one yourself. There are lots of platforms that you can buy a template from and do, or employ a web designer to do your e-commerce. E-commerce means you're open 24/7. You can sell all over the world, and you extend your reach and put more products on the website that maybe you can't necessarily fill your shop with. So that's a good way of starting out, have your e-commerce. I know Etsy also do a page. So if you haven't wanted to invest in your own site, Etsy is a good way to start off. We have a lot of events in our shop. So inviting our customers to launch new products, to have sales or previews of products. This keeps people interested and keeps the shop turning over and gives engagement within your selling times. So we've had pop-up shops around London, and where basically take up empty shops to go to new areas in London and test out the product in different markets. We do flyers for this. So when we're doing pop-up events, we flyer the area to let people know we're coming, and put this all on our social media as well. They do take up a lot of energy, these events, but to be warned, they're not the easiest thing to organize, but once you're on got a good database, it's really good to use that database to promote your product and your pop-ups. So yes, get creative with your organizing. Take part in fashion shows that cater to your customer base. Africa Fashion Week has been my showcase for the last 5 years. It has a good audience, a good reach, a good support network within that. So it's a really good showcase if you're in the African sphere to approach them to showcase your work. They also have market stalls there, which is a good way of selling your product as well. So that's a catwalk to market strategy that you can use to sell the product straight off the catwalk. We've been at Freemasons Hall for the last 3 or 4 years, and it's a very good venue. And the benefits of working with an established brand like Africa Fashion Week London is you have the support network. So your models are catered for, the stylist is catered for, i.e. me, and hair and makeup teams are provided. So this is a really good way of minimizing your stress levels and getting as maximum exposure as you can from a very good established platform. So guys, think of that if you're starting a collection. So now I'm going to take you into how to put a collection together. For those that already know, this might already teach you something you already know, but for those that wanted to start a collection and thinking about it, maybe students that are out there wanting to launch a brand, the minimum of 4 to 8 outfits is what was required, and you will then be part of the group show. So when I say outfits, if you're doing menswear, it's trousers, shirt, jacket, blazer. Women, you can just have one dress, can be 8 outfit. Or if you're doing separates, it's a skirt, a top, and maybe a headdress. If you're doing a solo show, that is a show that's completely on your own, you need to be thinking of a minimum of 10 outfits and anything up to 50 outfits. Then you'd have to find your own models, hair and makeup team, and your own venue. So that's basically the difference. So I would suggest and recommend a group show to start off with, because you get the support and the backup to make that more profitable for you. In the pictures, the last collection I showed, which is my Ashanti collection, and I used Kente print as my inspiration. And here's the picture from one of the lookbooks that we did. And it's good to have a theme. So that's what this theme, because it shows it's a collection when you have a theme. So it may be a color, it may be a print, it might be a storyline. But if you're going to have a collection, have a theme for it so people can see that it's held together and it kind of tells a story. Black is not the most highly recommended color to use. If you're using black as a collection, it's not the most photogenic. So be aware of that if you're thinking of black. Always use the best quality materials. I can't stress this enough. When you're sewing or making up the garments, quality shows. So try and use the best you can buy. And I'm not saying best needs to be expensive. It just needs to be marketable quality, washable, and easy to care for. Buy quality zips and fastenings. I can't stress this enough. any investment you make in zips is always going to pay off. The worst thing you want to happen, especially backstage when you're just about to go on and you're dressing the models and the zip breaks. So always, always, always use good quality zips. YKK do a very good selection. They do different colors of binding, so you can order those from any on wholesaler and online as well. Always ensure that your pieces are labeled. This helps to identify garments that might get lost backstage. Can you imagine there's like 50 to 60 designers all models all running around doing things. If it's not labeled, it's very easy to get lost, and it also is part of your professionalism to keep all your pieces labeled. The pictures on the left, on my left, are part of a new collection. It's part of my collaboration with Mr. Starr, and he made this suit for me with a print from Blisco, and still mixing it up with the Kente print. Catwalk models, traditionally, I say traditionally, because now we're using a lot of plus size models and different size models, which is very welcome. But a traditional, what we call standard catwalk model would be about a size 8 to a 10 maximum, and minimum height of 5'8". So bear this in mind when you're making your collection. If you're doing a swimwear or lingerie collection, let the organizers know well in advance, because a lot of models, as you might imagine, that they'll be up for wearing lingerie or swimwear, but some people have body issues. Some models have body issues and are not very keen to show it. So it's really good that we know that in advance if you're doing that kind of clothing. Brand building. Now this is an ongoing process. This will not happen overnight, and you will continually be building on your brand. So what makes your brand unique? What's going to make you stand out from the rest of the crowd? So it's a already very swamped market, very crowded market. So you need to be, something's happening on. You need to be unique in what you're providing and what you're selling. And have a distinct style. So you need to have good pattern cutter. A good pattern cutter is worth their weight in gold. They'll get your patterns right, they'll get them graded for you, and also have a really good sample machinist. This investment will never be wasted because your pieces were made very well. If you're a sewer yourself, then all good, but it's always good to start with people that you can trust in making your stuff. Be careful of your budget. When you're starting out, it can get very easy to get overexcited about new materials and overspend. And as I've learned in my past, it's good to tame yourself on that. The key words now for going forward is to be sustainable and to be ethical. As we've seen in COVID-19, sustainability is what's going to be pushing the fashion market forward going into the future. So try and be as sustainable as possible. And if you're using factories, make sure they're ethical. Marketing is really good. If you're making the most fantastic collection, nobody knows about it. It's a bit like having a shop in the middle of a field. You've got to go to market and let people know who you are, what you're doing, and really use every tool at your disposal to market your designs. Be confident, both in your pricing and in what you're presenting. Be realistic in what you're doing. If you're more expensive, for a pair of trousers, for example, a basic pair of trousers are more expensive than what you can get from a designer. Why would they come to you, an unknown designer, and buy trousers from you? So be aware of how pricing works. If you're retailing, it's usually about 2.5 to 2.8 above what your wholesale price would be, is your markup. So be aware of that. It's really important to get very good imagery as soon as you can. Get a good photographer. It doesn't have to be the most expensive, but use a really good photographer to get your digital assets. And this will sell your product in the best light, show it in the best light, and really, really give you a good advantage on when you're trying to sell. Okay, moving on. This is ways to promote. So that was a little clip of a film that I made for Africa Fashion Week to promote Africa Fashion Week using some of my menswear, shot in Freemasons Hall, using models that we booked for that and who are also in our show. So fashion shows are a great way to start. Lookbooks are really key to promoting your brand to other shops. So you'll send a lookbook out to them and they'll decide whether it's good for their shop. Editorial, that's magazine work or online bloggers. So make your stuff available for them. So have a editorial, make stylists aware who you are, that you exist, and let them use it for any celebrity dressing they're doing or any fashion shows or shoots that they're using. We've talked about the events and the pop-ups and the use of social media, which is very key to promoting it. Celebrity endorsement. When you're starting out, most magazines want to know who are you dressing, who's wearing your clothes, what celebrities are you are featuring your clothes. So this is something that may be a little more difficult to get when you're starting out, but it's not impossible. So let your PRs know that you're up for it. So here I've got John Boyega wearing one of my outfits to the premiere of Black Panther. So you may know him from Star Wars, and I think he's in some other stuff as well. I've also got Nile Rodgers wearing my clothes. He's got about 5 of my suits now, and I think we're about to make some more for him. So he's a very good brand ambassador for Soboye brand. The picture on the left is a pair of my trousers, which is part of a suit, and he's been painted in that outfit for the National Portrait Gallery, I think. So you'll see that somewhere. And back to fashion shows. On the first picture was my show in Berlin. The far right, the red shirt, was my first show in Lagos, at Lagos Design and Fashion Week. And this is actually my very first full collection. So I'm very proud of that. And the picture in the middle is the following year with my very first women's collection, collaborating with designer Caroline Chinakwe. So that's that. Lagos is a very good place, if I go back to that. Very good place if you're going to, it's an emerging market, it's very exciting. Very good organization there and very good models. So definitely think about that. We also have Africa Fashion Week Nigeria. So those of you based in Lagos, Abuja, or anywhere in Nigeria, maybe think of that one to start with before venturing out to London. But yes, it's very well organized now in Nigeria. So definitely think about that. And the first picture is my first show in Berlin. So taking it international, making it global, because we are a global village now. So everyone needs to be thinking of extending beyond their shores to give more coverage to your brand. Okay. This is one of the lookbooks I've created with a friend of mine, Curtis Benjamin, who's the photographer for this. So we're showing the use of fabric and use of tailoring. And here we've got patchwork using the black backdrop to let the colors pop in this one. So it's good to have a theme to photograph with. Talk to your photographer about how you're going to shoot it, what models you're going to use, and what you're trying to show. This lookbook was showing diversity. With my collection, a lot of people think that maybe it's too bright for me, or I can't wear that, I'm not bold enough to wear it. Here I'm showing that even the palest of skin with the blondest of hair can wear African print or the clothes that I'm trying to sell. So this is what I tried to show with this collection. and show the versatility of the collection. So that's that. This is actually shot in my shop, believe it or not. We painted the backdrop and used the fabric as a floor. And yeah, I think that worked really well. So this is how you can put a lookbook together on a budget. If you have friends that are model-esque looking, then why not use them to be your models? Or lots of models are looking for new pictures. So maybe contact the agencies and see what new models they've got that they want to photograph. I'm also a fashion stylist. So I've been a fashion stylist before I was a designer. So I've got quite good contacts with agencies and always make friends of models, because that's a good way of getting them to work for you for maybe some clothes or just for pictures. This is an editorial spread, which is in Phoenix magazine, that was using some of my products. And it's always good to see how different stylists interpret your brand. So I always let other stylists use my clothes to put in their editorials. Advertorial. Now this is a paid commercial, but shot in a fashion way. So in this picture, I created a collection for Red, which is I was going to say fast food, but it's if you think of an African pot noodle, and then you get the idea. So they were promoted by Unilever, and I was used as the art director for this. So we bought the fabric and used that as a backdrop. Hang on a minute. And then we used the floor as a flooring. So I'm really proud of this shoot. And there was a film to go with this as well. So that was a whole set built for the promotion of Red. Be your own brand ambassador. Now here I am in various outfits that I've created over the years. The picture on my right is me sat outside the shop for a little promotion done about Shoreditch Creative. So that was a little film. The second picture in the middle is me at Africa Utopia. This picture is trending on Pinterest at the moment. And this is in a book based by a Paris publisher. Photographer is Othello de Souza. And the first picture is me in my first collection outside my shop, shot by Sarah Shamsavari for the Afro the Dandelion project. That was that. So when I'm out in my clothes, heads do turn. People look and stare. So always have your business cards on you when you're out in your clothes, because people will want to know if you're wearing stuff like this, where it's from. So I've got quite a lot of customers by just be a walking advert, basically. So that's what I've been doing with my clothes. And if you don't believe in your clothes, how are you going to expect other people to believe in what you're doing? So I've always used myself as a guinea pig for marketing my clothes and road testing what works. So that's a really good way to promote. Be open to promotional opportunities. So here I am here with models from Africa Fashion Week, promoting the event on BBC Africa. So we'd gone into their studios, and I mean, it was a major rush. This was rushing from Olympia to BBC studios in the West End, and then back to Olympia to do the show. So all in a day's work. So be quick to respond to a call to action. Leave a lasting and memorable impression. Always dress to impress, but don't go overboard. Don't wear everything but the kitchen sink. Be considerate and stylish in your approach to dressing yourself, and keep in contact with all those contacts you meet along the way. So that basically sums up seize the day. Carpe diem means seize the day. So always be alert and open to new opportunities. Always be ready to show your brand in different environments. We've also shown in Trafalgar Square. We've shown open air at Africa Utopia on the South Bank. So it's been an amazing ride. It's an amazing journey, but the best is yet to come. So we're looking forward to seeing how we move forward post-COVID-19. But yes, it's going to be an exciting world, a world of change. So get into the habit of documenting all your designs. This is really, really important, because you need to be organized when you're doing this. Draw your designs, label your designs, make them understood if you're making with a factory. Keep all your patterns, digitize them if you can. Start an archive as soon as possible. An archive is where you keep a piece of all your collections. So you don't have to keep the whole collection, but keep the first piece or the sample. You refer back to them in latest collections. We're not reinventing the wheel here. Fashion is fashion. A pair of trousers, a dress is all, it's very standardized. So be mindful of that. Keep an archive, and it helps when you're referring to things in the future. It can be very easy to hoard fabrics, and if you don't have a very large space to work in, it gets difficult to keep fabrics. So be frugal in your fabric buying, and if once the collection is done, try and use up as much fabric and do not hoard fabrics. Here's a picture of Vanessa at Africa Fashion Week. I think that was 2018 in our Kente.
19, yes. Samson. Last year.
Last year, okay, last year. This is 2019. Shot by Kalichi, who comes from Nigeria, and another behind-the-scenes fashion shoot. And yeah, the venue lends itself very well to photography, so that's one of my favorite outfits from that collection. The lapel on this jacket is sequins, reverse sequins, and it's been used quite a lot by various stylists. One of my favorite jackets and one of my favorite pictures. So what part of my reach is I'm doing, I think now about 60 to 70% of my business is bespoke. So people come and order from the collection, but in a fabric or size of their choice, or whatever size they want. So it can be tricky, but it's a good way of establishing a really good connection with your clients. They feel very special, and it means that you don't have to keep tons and tons of stock. And basically it's a very good service to offer. It assists in your brand building, and it's tailor-made for an individual customer. So they get exactly what they want, required to their taste, but it's still your DNA, your brand, and it allows you to charge a premium. So it can be more than what you're selling off the shelf. And it's really good way of just doing one-off pieces, basically. But you do have to manage your clients' expectations. I've done quite a few wedding dresses, and you can imagine the bride-to-be is very, very anxious and stuff. So you do have to curtail amount of contact for that, but keep it all up front. So the picture of this dress and cape is what I'm making for a wedding that was due this summer. It might be postponed to next year now, but that's in the pipeline. So that's one of my design sheets that you can see there on the left. So it offers a special touch. Here we have pictures of a dress. It's called my Afrikimono dress, and it's using my influences of Japanese and African culture. I also make accessories to match. So we have a clutch bag, a choker, and some earrings. So this all goes as a matching ensemble. So I use other designers that make these for me in any fabric I want. So offer that special touch. 85% of these customers that I've made as bespoke have come back to me for future projects. So it really is a good way of keeping your customer base and really fostering close relationships with them. They also will recommend you to other people, and then it builds your brand organically. Use social media. It's free. Come on, it's got to be used. So if you're not using this, why are you not? It's a very simple way of controlling your brand. The reach is worldwide. I find Instagram the best because it's well, I'm all about the imagery, and it's everybody's using Instagram. It's a very powerful tool. It can be addictive, but it's amazing. So you can do stories with it. You can do little videos with it. There's also Instagram TV. So definitely be using that. Facebook, you can be selling from Facebook as well. There's a Facebook shop that you can use, and it's a really good way to promote your brand. Twitter's good, but I'm not big on Twitter, but it's good if you're promoting maybe a new website or a product launch, then you can use it through Twitter. LinkedIn, that's more for advertising your services rather than selling. It's more of a service-based one. Pinterest is great for imagery. If you're on Pinterest, do check in on my boards. I have 13 boards, and from everything from interiors to my inspirations to travel. So Pinterest is great for that. And Tumblr is mainly for bloggers. I'm on Tumblr, but it's not my main thing. Instagram's where you find me most. So, but Tumblr's good if you want to write more about your stuff or fashion in general. Tumblr's great for that. Going back, this is a good way of Instagram to promote your lookbooks or any new projects that you're doing. Instagram's very instant and builds up your following very quickly. Okie dokie. I've got some references here. British Fashion Council is great for if you want to show on London Fashion Week, so you'll have to approach them first. If you're looking for fabric, Premier Vision's a good place to get fabrics from wool, linen, printed fabric, silks. It's in Paris. It's a huge show, but if you're a designer, it's something you would definitely have to do once in a lifetime. The British Library is great if you're starting a business and you need research. They have everything you need to know about anything. So that's in King's Cross. If you haven't visited there, do become a member. They have lots of networking events as well. So do go to the British Library. I am a fabric hound, so I go everywhere for my fabric. But my main sources have been Walthamstow Market, Shepherd's Bush Market, and Berwick Street Market. Berwick Street is more for looking because it's very expensive, or my bespoke orders. And Walthamstow for shop stock and silk and linens, they're all available there. So we're in a very, very challenging time at the moment, but we seem to be coming through at the other end. So it's looking interesting. And what will be the fashion landscape post-COVID? Well, I think, and this is my predictions, that it will be a growth in e-commerce. There's been lots of sales still going on during COVID. So if you haven't already got a website, definitely think about getting one. There will be a decline in fast fashion. I've already heard that Warehouse and Oasis on the high street have folded in COVID. So I think people will want more sustainable quality products will be something that people will be looking into more. There'll be more work from home. There will be smaller product runs from factories. They'll be more open to working with new designers. So this might be a really good time for new people to work with factories. And they'll do smaller production runs. I don't think people will be doing minimums of 1,000 and minimums of 2,000 anymore. It'll be more in the 10s and 20s now. So it could be a good time for new designers to get small production done. Be more of a demand for high-tech fabrics, that maybe things like minimum wash, non-iron, biodegradable, so less harmful to the environment. So that'll be interesting to see how that develops. As more people might work from home, there might be less use of formal wear. So we see less, I don't know if gowns and red carpet numbers will be on the rise, but we'll see. That could be interesting. So it'd be interesting to see how we develop in this post-COVID times. There will be probably less travel, so that could impact on the fashion industry. We'll have just to see. And that's basically it. So that's all for now, folks. So over to you, Anna.
Well, thank you, Samson. So I'm going to stop sharing your screen. And that was amazing. Is there anything that you'd really want to impress on our audience that they really, really, really must think about? I know your slideshow, your presentation didn't touch on it, but you did say one thing about PR. Now, do you think it's very important for designers, maybe not starting up, but you know, if they're a bit more established to really consider finding themselves a very good PR company? Is that something that you
Okay, I would recommend it, but you will have to have a budget. PR is expensive. Unless you find someone that really wants to work with you on just a consultancy basis, which is no fee, just so that it helps. So basically, if you're going to do PR, maybe try and find someone that's new in PR that wants to grow with you. So they're not established as a PR agent, but they want to use you to show you what they can do, show the world what they can do. PR is, if you've got great clothes, PR is quite easy. Everyone wants to work with great clothes. So you might find a PR approaches you and says they'll do it for free just because it's good for their brand to be associated with you. So I've approached PRs and to see what it costs, and basically they're looking at £3,000 a month to PR you. That's a huge outlay for any designer. So you'd have to be turning over like what, £500,000 to justify.
So basically, you have to do your own PR. Basically,
you have to do your own PR.
You have to do
and I think a lot of companies are doing in-house PR. So maybe find someone that's fashion trained in fashion journalism or something, and work with them in-house to just work on your PR and marketing. So that could be a way of doing it. I do it all in-house, and I've worked in PR before. I've worked as a stylist, so I know how PR works. So if you're looking down that route, it's maybe a good idea to work with someone for maybe just even a season, just to get you started. And then when people know about you, reduce their input.
It's funny, actually, you mentioned seasons. Do you think, and with the usual and traditional designers and fashion weeks, there is two distinct seasons for collections. There's the autumn, winter, and the spring, summer collections. Do you think now designers are kind of moving away from building collections twice a year, or do you still think that's a very pertinent way of maybe our young designers who are wanting to set up a business to actually, build collections for two distinct seasons? Or do you think that's something that's kind of be a melting pot? You produce a collection whenever you can, kind of thing.
Well, when did you last buy a coat, for example?
Winter.
Yeah, but like, so we don't. I mean, I've not worn a coat for ages, and like a big thick winter coat is maybe you wear for 2 or 3 weeks. So basically a season now, due to climate change, winters are not really winters as they used to be, or they're shorter than they used to be. So seasonally doesn't really, it's not as appropriate as it used to be. Summer clothes used to be in the shops by February, and it would still be middle of the winter. So and then swimwear would be in some other time. You can't buy a swimsuit in summer because they've been sold out in March. So I only do one collection a year, and it's sort of trans-seasonal. And a lot of my customers are international, so they travel in the winter into summer climates. And a lot of my clothes involve layering, so you just put on extra layers for warmth. So I don't think it's important to do seasonal wear anymore.
I've got a question actually from Tristan Bradley. He's asking, how does pricing on sale or return work? What would a shop typically add to a marker's price?
So
you did mention this at the beginning, didn't you? But maybe Tristan wasn't with us at the beginning, so it would be useful to...
So basically, as you'd approach me as a designer, and you'd tell me what you'd need for it from your wholesale perspective, and I would mark it up a minimum of doubles. For example, if something came to me at £100, I'd sell it here for £200, and they would get the 100. But sometimes new designers haven't got a clue about pricing, and I will do it to what I think the market can afford. So I would know what it's worth. So some things can be marked up 3 times because they're worth that. But there is a level. So if it's a really unique piece, it depends. Jewelry, you can mark up more because it's jewelry. but clothes, there was certain ceiling for certain prices.
Mm.
So that's to do with, as a designer, do your research and see what similar products are out there and what they're being charged for. And then you would have to mark it down maybe a third. So to me, it'd be a third less than what it is in retail.
Okay, I hope that's answered Tristan's question. He's saying thank you. Yeah. Another question I just had in my head. Okay, so you studied at Central St. Martin's, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Many years ago, but we won't go into it.
Stop and take a breath.
Let's not go there. A lady never tells. So I just want to know, when you were starting out and you left St. Martin's, what were your dreams? I mean, did you think that this is where you would be? Are you, you know, leaving college, what dreams did you have, or are you absolutely fulfilling them?
That's a really good question. I fulfilled a lot of my dreams, but I think there's way more things I want to do. So I didn't study design. I studied fashion journalism and fashion promotion.
Oh,
so
that's interesting. Okay. Yeah.
So well, let's be frank. I started there in 1990, and I was on a 4-year course. That's decades ago. At that time, we were in a recession, and the needs of the industry were different. So they wanted, if you want to do fashion journalism, they wanted you to be able to do photo shoots and graphics and layouts. So that training was all about how to put a magazine together, how to work in PR. So I was actually a fully trained journalist stroke stylist. But I found the visual side of it really, really interesting. So I became a stylist straight up. So I was working from year 2 of my studies. I worked with Naomi Campbell on a Corsa commercial. I was assisting at Vogue. So my first dream was met the minute I left college. I worked as an intern at Vogue with Lucinda Chambers, which was amazing. Pinched myself every day. I walked into the office, and it was amazing. I was on shoot straight away. So that was a really very, very life-changing experience for me. And but the dreams are to do more catwalks internationally, maybe do New York, maybe even Paris, under my own brand, and do maybe a pop-up in Paris and New York. So these are all things that I'm still thinking about now.
Is there anything that you cannot impress enough on a designer starting out their own brand, or possibly wanting to start their own boutique, physical boutique as well as an online boutique? Is there anything that you cannot tell them enough that they must pay attention to, and to not make this mistake?
Right. Don't think that you're going to be discovered just by making the best dress in the world without reaching out to a stylist or a magazine or a celebrity. You have to go to market. It's don't be stuck in your bedroom or kitchen table just creating. You have to get out there. You have to network. Let people know who you are. Like I said earlier, somebody's come in as a question and said that they missed the networking bit, so I'm going to go over it.
Yeah, we'll go over that.
Yeah, you know, if you had the best shop in the world in the middle of a field and nobody knows about, what would be the point? So you have to connect all the time. Don't overspend. Be careful of your budgets. Live within your means. It can be very easy to get into a lot of debt very quickly. Very quickly, and it is an expensive industry. There's no two ways about it. It costs, and it might not happen overnight, but don't be despondent. Yeah, keep going. It might take 3 seasons before you get noticed. In fact, most buyers of fashion only will buy you after you've done 3 seasons. They need to see that you're consistent. They need to see that you're
You're sustaining.
You're sustaining, and that you're not changing every season. That you're doing something completely, like you're doing denim one brand one season and silk the next, and so they don't want to see designer schizophrenia, basically.
So they want to see consistency in your design, not that you're all over the place.
Exactly.
You know your vision, and you're working.
Exactly. And also they want to know that you're, one season you're selling dresses for £100, and the next season they're £1,000.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, that's out the market. So yeah, have a consistency, have a kind of a uniqueness about you that I think when you see my stuff, you can see, oh, that's a Soboye. Even before you see the label, even if not a print, I've got a certain handle that you can see it's my stuff. So that's something to have. And your brand should say something about you. I think my personality speaks through my clothes. My personality speaks through what I wear. So that's something that you should bear in mind as well. Okay.
Well, before we go to the recap on the networking, I've got a question from Facebook. Right. How much is your marketing spend? Or what's the ideal amount for marketing spend? And that was from Winnie Mills, and she's got another question as well. From the brand DNA to launching the label, what is the chronological order you advise to follow? So once you've decided what your brand's going to look like, what you like designing, to launching your label, what are the steps to go through that?
Okay, so you have, well, I'll talk about me, how I did it. So yeah. I started with a shirt. So my brand grew organically. I never really planned it. It was something that happened organically. Excuse me. So basically, this shirt is what I designed from the collection. It's a bib front shirt, and African print I'd never really been that much into because it was something I'd grown up with, and being a teenager, but like, oh god, that's African stuff. But I kind of embraced it later on in life, and then found there's a million prints out there. So I just took 10 prints and made 10 different shirts. They sold that.
And that was the start. And that was
the start of that. And 10 shirts became 50 shirts within 2 months. 50 shirts became 1,000 shirts within a year. And then I noticed that a lot of women were buying the shirts. Basically, the prints are very colorful. So a lot of women, then I had to make shirts in women's sizes. Women's shirts button up on the other side, something I had to learn. And there's different shaping for women's shirts. Then they wanted skirts, trousers, jackets to go with it. So I was kind of thrown in to doing it, and they took off. So that's my chronological order. But basically, if you're making a collection, you'd go from saying these are 8 pieces that you want to present, or 6 to 8 pieces, and then you maybe sketch them up, get a couple of samples made, and then build from that. It's best to maybe draw it out and then before you start going to fabric, and then find your fabric and then make the collection. I hope that helps. Does that make sense?
and then promote on your social media and say you've launched.
Yeah. So maybe road test it on yourself. If you're a woman and you're doing women's wear, then make something for yourself to wear and see what people's response to that is. If you're, maybe lend it to a friend to try it, to see how it works, and get them to wear it to an event, and then see what the response is.
That's a good idea, isn't it? Your friends to wear your clothes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But not to anywhere, just to an event where they're going to be noticed.
Well, exactly. Yeah. So let's go back to Victoria Francis. She wants to talk about, she missed you talking about networking and collaboration. So if we could just do a quick recap.
So networking is going to events where you meet like-minded people or people that might be interested in your product, or you just socialize, really. So you go and find out what's going on in the marketplace. So don't be a hermit just watching TV. Not everything happens on TV. TV is watching people living their lives. So you need to be one of those people out there living your life. So I mean, COVID has been quite hard for me because I'm one that kind of goes to the open envelope. So it's good to go out there. I'm a social person and I like being out and meeting people. I'm interested in people and I like showing out, being in, you know, in fine clothes, looking good, getting noticed. So that's about networking. And then the networks can, I mean, I found a backer once. I had a backer for 2 years who helped me open a shop in Covent Garden. Had a shop in what name of that street? Betterton Street. And we were both working at Louis Vuitton at an event. My friend held event and she provided catering. So I was just like handing out drinks or champagne. And my friend Aaron, well, I say he wasn't my friend, but he became a friend, was interested in what I did. And I told him, and I said, oh yeah, I've got a shop in Shoreditch and I've been doing it for 5 years. Said, really? And he was doing it just to help out a friend. And he said, I'll come to see you at the shop. And he loved what I was doing. And he said, you know, you'd better off having a shop in Covent Garden. This was in 2005. So he found the shop, paid for it. It was a short lease, 2 years. And we've become friends ever since. He was on Homes Under the Hammer yesterday. He's now an investment property dealer. So yeah, and we stay in touch
with him again, Samson.
Yes, no, we are in touch. So basically, that just came out of networking. So you don't know who you're going to meet. Never be backward about coming forward.
So basically, wear your clothes, get out to events and network, and take your business cards.
And take your business cards. Or, I mean, business cards are a little bit
passé now, aren't they?
Yeah. So have an Instagram. Everyone's on Instagram. So you can just get people to follow, get them to get their phones out, follow you straight away, and then.
Let's talk a little bit about your collaboration, because we talked about your collaboration with Red, and what other brands, and that's a food brand. So that's an example of a fashion brand collaborating with a food brand to produce something. So can you give me any examples of any other collaborations?
Well, Mr. Star is a tailoring shop not far from here, and they do bespoke wedding suits and corporate. I mean, you know, the guys that work in the city wear his suits. Mm-hmm. So black, navy, grey is, you know, you can imagine that's what he does. So I've known Philip for years. He started up Woodhouse, which was in Covent Garden as well. He's been in Shoreditch nearly as long as I have, maybe longer. And we just kept talking, and we've become kind of a friend. And I said to him, I kept kind of pushing him to kind of like, come in and have a look. And I said, why don't you do a suit out of one of my fabrics? And he kind of joked about it and look at my stuff. And I said, look. Then he warmed up to the idea when he saw something I'd made. And I said, give me a fabric and I'll make you a suit, which I wore for Fashion Week to take my bow after my collection last year. Yeah, so now he's doing suits in African fabric. But with my collaboration, with my name and my label and his label, selling suits with my fabric.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. So how long do you think that you have to be quite established before you start getting some kind of important collaborations and things like that? Do you think there's a time, or do you think that you can be lucky and find a decent collaborator straight off?
It's possible. Everything is possible. Everyone wants to be linked with something that's exciting. You don't need to necessarily be a name, but if you've got a product or designs that people like your aesthetic and they want to be associated, or they see something in you that they can benefit from, or like-mindedness, then yeah, it can start at any time. Probably easier when you're starting out than when you're established, because then you're not set in your ways as much, and maybe more open to ideas. Yeah, collaboration it's happening all the time now. People trying to fuse ideas and make things happen. So two heads are better than one, and it extends the reach.
Okay. And we've got a couple more questions. How did you fund yourself at the start? But I think we've covered that, haven't we? You kind of had a backer, but before then, how did you fund yourself?
Well, as I mentioned, I still am a fashion stylist. So I was working, when I started, I left college in 94. 95, I was working until 1998. So for 3 years, I worked every single day. I had not had a break. Every day was a different job. So I was freelance. I had an agent who I'm still with. And I was doing commercials, videos, fashion shows, editorial. It was exhausting, which led me to do interiors afterwards because I needed a break. And so I saved a bit of money because I wasn't going on holiday. I was just traveling with work, and I used the money to just start off small and
start with these shirts.
Start with the shirts, but and I had a studio around the corner for a little while. I mean, I started in the 90s. Things weren't as expensive as they are now, so it was easy to be creative, and it was easy to start something up. If you remember, I said there was a recession, so there wasn't like loads and loads of work. So lots of people were starting things on their own. Where I was, Alexander McQueen was around the corner. Literally loads of designers were starting up at the same time. Paul Fuller, there's loads of people that were just around here starting up with loads of studios. So we used to hang out at bars around here. And so it was kind of easy. Just everyone was a designer.
All right. And I've got one more question from Nancy Jer. Do you offer apprenticeship?
I do indeed. So I've had about 10 interns now over here, but I've actually trained them a bit too well because they'll go off and start their own thing just at the time when I could need them most. But I've got one of them coming back to me to work, so that's going to be good. Apprenticeships, anything from 8 weeks to 3 months, 8 to 12 weeks is the minimum, really, because you don't learn enough if you're there any shorter. And so if you're thinking about that, yeah, just get in touch and be keen to work.
There you go, Nancy. Get in touch with Samson. You can find him on his social media if you drop him out or slide into his DMs.
There's another question.
Oh, another question. Oh, Victoria again. Okay. For someone who's never studied fashion-related course in university, do you think he or she needs to go back to study fashion?
No is the easy answer to that. I don't think it's going to hurt you to go back to study fashion, but you can do an apprenticeship. Most apprenticeships, well, a lot of apprenticeships are unpaid, so be aware of that. So if you can fund yourself while you're doing that, then fine. I paid travel and lunch for my apprenticeships, so that's depending where they come from. And that's the minimum what I give. It is. You don't want to be there longer than 6 months on an apprenticeship. You learn enough in that time. But yeah, I'm not sure if you can get into a college and you can afford a college, by all means do it. But maybe do like a weekend thing, apprenticeship as well alongside it to enhance your learning.
That's good advice. Right, I think
Soboye Boutique, can you put on the...
Oh yes, I put, is that Soboye _boutique, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's beautiful advice. I think we're finished with the questions. Unless there's anything else, if somebody wants to raise their hand, if they've got one more question. If not, we are going to.
I forgot to mention now that London Fashion Week is now they're doing the merging the men's and women's wear. So it's going to be instead of 4 shows a year, it's just going to be 2 shows, which you've got to bear that in mind now. So it's not, they don't have women's and men's separately. It's all in one, which I think is going to be followed up by the rest of the world. As we can see, fashion shows are kind of becoming less relevant, and people are very expensive. People have to find new ways of promoting fashion. So that's something it's going to be a very interesting landscape coming post-COVID. So it'd be really good to see what we can do.
It's quite thrilling to see the kind of new ways of showing fashion or sharing designs. You know, we're seeing a lot of virtual catwalks and holograms. I mean, Rihanna did a Fenty Savage hologram catwalk, I think it was last year, and then we've seen the Congolese designer Hanifa showing us what she can do just with augmented reality. So it's I think it's interesting times we're living through right now, isn't it?
Necessity is the mother of creativity. So we know that in times of challenge, that's when some ideas are enforced. And what I mean, basically, when you're forced to be creative, sometimes the best ideas are created. So it's going to be a very, very interesting time to see what happens. And we've got so much digital tools at our disposal now. It's amazing what's going to be done. And I think it's interesting that when we talk about collaboration, if we can get like filmmakers and digital who do those visual effects, working together. Can you imagine the amazing stuff that can be created? So it's about those people being open to collaborating.
No, I think they are. I mean, I think they are. You know, London is the world capital for VFX. So I can see it happening. I really can.
Yeah,
I really can.
I mean, there will always be a place for the traditional catwalk show.
Yeah,
there just might be a different way of doing a traditional catwalk show. But I think it's I love a catwalk show, but I just think it's
live.
But I just think it's we just got to find a new way of making that work.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Good. Well,
what do you think?
Well, do you know, I'm a little bit of a techie geek, so I'm super excited about what can be done. Yes, I love the live shows. You know, there's nothing like the kind of energy that we get from AFWL, working with AFWL. But I kind of want to see what we can do virtually, you know. Let's just see.
Yeah.
I know we talked a tiny bit about that you do interiors as well, and I know you mentioned my name because I made some lamps for you. We can see it, the lamp in the corner, just behind Samson's head is one of the lamps that I've made for him.
Can you see that, guys?
Oh, you actually look at that! Look at that beauty. Yeah. I
was going to see if I could show you the mini ones, but I don't think you can see it. Can you see it, the mini one?
Yeah. Gorgeous.
Great.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I make nice lamps, huh?
So, guys, this is the shop. In case you haven't seen it before.
Are you doing it? Don't fall over, will you?
No. There it is.
So look at that. That is good. That's a good mix of product. We've got hats. We've got pictures.
That's our window. Going over.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Don't fall. Hats, little caps, beautiful. What you've stuffed into that space is just it's amazing. All right, we're done.
We're done. Hooray.
So we are going to, if anybody wants this Samson's presentation, we will put it on our website as well, so you can download it from there. You can have a recap. If anybody who's online needs to ask any more questions, then please do get in touch with myself or Samson, and we'd be happy to ask. Tomorrow we have got another masterclass, which is I think it's at 1 o'clock. So please do go follow us on our social media platforms so you can see who's talking, and obviously register for that, because that's going to be an amazing one as well. But for the meantime, I'm just going to say thank you for Samson. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for helping me with that presentation.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Thanks again.
We say goodbye.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.